you know? There are 50 e-reader cards for FireRed and LeafGreen that were never released outside Japan. A lot of the content the cards unlocked can't be accessed by any other means, and since e-reader cards are region-locked, most fans never got a chance to experience any of that content. Although it was eventually made compatible with other franchises like Mario and Animal Crossing, the e-reader was originally marketed as a Pokemon device called the Pokemon Card e-reader. Scanning the strips on select Pokemon TCG cards into the e-reader unlocked exclusive content for your Game Boy Advance, like a Space Invaders style minigame where Tyranitar fights an active volcano. You could also scan e-reader cards into Ruby and Sapphire for trainer battles, unique berry types, and the Eon ticket that took you to the Southern Island. Most of the cards were released in the US, but due to the e-reader's lack of popularity outside Japan, functionality for the cards in international versions of FireRed and LeafGreen were deactivated. As a result, this 50 card set remained exclusive to Japan, containing 37 trainer cards and 13 tower cards. Scanning a trainer card imports up to 3 trainers onto one floor of the trainer tower in the Sevi Islands, and the trainer tower is 8 stories tall, so you'd need to scan 8 trainer cards. Lots of these cards are themed, like shiny evolutions and Kanto starters. Each card shows you just a few of the trainer's Pokemon, and only a few of their attacks, so you won't know the rest until you battle them. Their Pokemon are all scaled to match the level of the strongest Pokemon on your own team, so they'll always be a worthy challenge. You can mix and match trainer cards to make any tower you want, but ideally, fans are encouraged to build towers curated by Game Freak themselves, which is where the tower cards come in. There are 13 different tower cards, and each one is ranked by difficulty: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. A tower card tells you to scan 8 trainer cards in order to build the tower shown on the card. Tower cards also have an option for time attack, which gives players the option to have an extra layer of challenge for thrill seekers and completionists. Climbing towers doesn't reward you with experience, but you can win some decent prizes like dragon scales, metal coats, and upgrades. Some of these trainers were incorporated into international versions of the game without use of the e-reader, but a lot of them weren't, which makes these cards especially valuable to collectors. 44 cards in the game set could be found in 5 card booster packs, similar to TCG cards. One promo card was also distributed to fans in May 2004's issue of Koro Koro magazine, and the last 5 cards could only be acquired through Club Nintendo. Nowadays, these 5 Club Nintendo cards, 4 trainers and 1 advanced tower, are incredibly rare, costing upwards of $2,000. Due to the card's rarity and difficulty, FireRed and LeafGreen's ultimate challenge is building the Club Nintendo Tower and completing its time attack of 12 minutes and 47 seconds. In Japan, the original Game Boy games were red and green, but internationally the first releases were called Pokemon Red and Blue. Since most international fans never played green, the remake's director, Junichi Masuda, admitted that Water Blue would have made more sense than Leaf Green, but decided against it to symbolize the harmony of the Pokemon world. In 2004, Masuda wrote, "If we follow the pattern of the original series, the new games would be Fire Red and Water Blue, but I chose green as a leaf as a symbol of peace. Fire and water are opposing concepts that suggest conflict, but the real world is already full of conflict, so we decided on names that suggest a peaceful world." Just like every previous game in the series, Fire Red and Leaf Green were localized into English almost entirely by just one man, a Canadian freelancer named Nob Ogasawara. As a thanks for his years of service, and also to provide an Easter egg for fans, Nintendo of America named lots of NPCs after him, starting with Black Belt Nob and Gen 2 Cianwood Jim, as well as another Black Belt on Hoenn Route 115. Nob told us that in real life he'd make a terrible Black Belt, as he has the coordination of a mechanical monkey. Nintendo later found out he spent a lot of his time off work hiking, so for Fire Red and Leaf Green, they changed Nob from a Black Belt into a hiker on his way to Bill's house. And you can find him on Route 25 with 3 Geodude and a Machop. Nob was also included in the remakes Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. But after translating 25 Pokemon games almost single-handedly, Nob got laid off in the middle of Gen 4 due to contractual complications between Nintendo and the Pokemon Company, so unfortunately he didn't make his way into Sinnoh or any later iterations. Speaking of Nob Ogasawara, the Sevi Isles south of Kanto are based on the Ogasawara Islands that lie off the southern coast of the real-life Kanto region of Japan. They're actually named after Nob's ancestors, who claim to have been the first Japanese to ever set foot on these islands. The Ogasawara Islands were never geographically connected to the continent, and as a result, they're populated by plants and animals that are nowhere to be found on the Japanese mainland, which makes their in-game counterparts, the Sevi Islands, a perfect home for all of the Johto and Hoenn Pokemon found in Fire Red and Leaf Green. Some of the Sevi Islands represent specific Ogasawara Islands, like Deoxy's home, Birth Island, which is clearly modeled after Minami Torishima. In real life, the United States and Japanese governments fought over the strategic naval island for nearly 100 years. The US finally gained control of the island after World War II, but ultimately gave it back to Japan peacefully in the 1960s. There are over 30 Ogasawara Islands, and interestingly, the game's internal data shows a lot more Sevi Islands that didn't make it into the final game, including names and even some maps for islands Islands 8 and 9, as well as 22, 23, and 24. It appears Game Freak was originally planning on 24 islands, or possibly even more, but the internal maps are unfinished, so the islands count was probably reduced before too much time was spent in development. Some of the Sevies are also based on the Izu Islands, a volcanic island chain that inspired Mount Ember, the dormant volcano on one island, and also Naval Rock, whose winding passageways were formed by volcanic lava. In addition to the extra islands, another aspect of the Sevies never saw the light of day, and as a result, FireRed and LeafGreen ended up with only 46 Johto Pokemon instead of the 59 Game Freak intended. Surfing north of 6th Island, players can find a small area called Outcast Island, whose only purpose is being home to Altern Cave. It's a small cavern about 4 screens large, and it only contains one Pokemon, Zubat. At first glance, it seems like a pointless local, but it's actually left over from a series of unused events. These events would have given fans a mystery gift that altered the Pokemon found inside, replacing Zubat with 8 Johto Pokemon: Mareep, Apom, Pineco, Shuckle, Teddy Ursa, Houndour, Stantler, and Smeargle. Fans would have been met with the following text, which can still be found in the game's data. Thank you for using the mystery gift system. Recently, there have been rumors of rare Pokemon appearances. The rumors are about Altern Cave on Outcast Island. Why not visit there and check out if the rumors are indeed true? But unfortunately, Nintendo never got around to actually hosting any of these events, so these Gen 2 Pokemon and their evolutions, a total of 13 monsters, ended up unobtainable, and nowhere to be found in Ruby and Sapphire either. So fans were left with some annoying holes in their Pokedex that couldn't be filled until Emerald hit store shelves a year later. When FireRed and LeafGreen launched, art director Ken Sugimori drafted a new art set to replace the series' original watercolor art, and in the process changed the number of fingers and toes on a lot of Kanto Pokemon. Haunter, Golem, and Raticate all had 4 fingers on each hand, but their updated designs had just 3. Meanwhile, Pikachu and Mr. Mime sprouted additional fingers, now giving them 5 on each hand. According to Pokebeach founder John Zahagian, at a 2009 Tokyo event, a Pokemon Company staffer told him, "The Pokemon Company has an internal list of every change ever made to a Pokemon's design. For example, he told me Mr. Mime gained an extra finger because Japanese parents wrote in to complain about its 4 fingers being associated with gangs. I later learned the Yakuza get their fingers cut off, so I guess parents thought Mr. Mime was a Yakuza reference." There's a taboo in Japan against cartoon characters with 4 fingers, not only because of the Yakuza, but also because it's considered offensive to lower class workers like butchers and meat packers who've lost a finger. Some Pokemon also sprouted extra toes, like how Zapdos and Dodrio went from 3 on each foot in Gen 1 to 4 on each foot in FireRed and LeafGreen. But this probably had more to do with consistency than taboo. Articuno, Moltres, and Doduo had all 4 toes from the very beginning, so the designers probably thought it was weird that Zapdos and Dodrio only had 3, and revised their designs accordingly. All these Pokemon's original designs were never seen again, and future generations permanently replaced them with FireRed and LeafGreen redesigns. According to Satoru Okada, the general manager from the DS games, the DS might not have had built-in Wi-Fi if it wasn't for FireRed and LeafGreen. As you can still see on the game's box art, fans who bought FireRed and LeafGreen also received a Gba Wireless Adapter, which allowed for trading in battles without a link cable. In an interview with Japanese Nintendo Online magazine, Okada said, "We started development with a wireless adapter bundled with Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen. When we saw it, we thought we can definitely make it happen. Some people find the cable annoying, and you can't really walk around or move when connected to another system. So we wanted to develop the wireless capability even further. We thought making it part of the system itself, rather than an adapter, would make it even easier to use. If Okada's team hadn't built Wi-Fi into the DS, many of the special events in Gen 4 and Gen 5 wouldn't have been possible." Did you also know in the Japanese version of Gen 1, the old man in Viridian City was drunk, and a hiker outside of Rock Tunnel was high on magic mushrooms? For more facts about how Kanto was changed all around the world, click on the video on screen. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, and subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching! By the way, hi, I'm Tama. If you like my voice and would like to hear more of my voice talking about Pokemon things, I made a Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire review that goes in depth about the surprising real-world historical events that inspired the story in the game. You can go ahead and click that video on screen to check it out, and I'll be making a FireRed LeafGreen review in December, so you can keep a lookout for that as well.